Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. As always, at this time of year, many people begin to speculate on where Halloween came from. And we're going to read a news story today, which is saying that Halloween started or had some kind of origin in Ireland. Now, this is from The Independent today, Tuesday, the 29th of October. I just want to point out that this is an opinion, okay? Because I don't think anybody knows really why Halloween is on the 31st of October. But I would make a guess. I would say Halloween, from the name Hallow, which means holy, it's kind of related to the church festival the next day, which is All Saints' Day, historically known as All Hallows' Day. And that's what links Halloween with the Day of the Dead in Mexico. They also have this same idea that it's a night when the living and the dead can talk to each other or communicate. However, in Mexico, they take fruit and drinks to the tombs and the graves for the dead people to enjoy. Whereas here in the UK, we don't do that. We just dress up as monsters for a few hours, and some people get very, very drunk, and the next day it's forgotten. So in the UK, we're kind of post-religious, so most people wouldn't even know that Halloween is the evening before a major Catholic religious festival in some parts of the world. In this newspaper report today, the author is talking to some people, and she's putting forward the idea that Halloween was placed on top of an ancient Celtic festival called Samhain, sometimes called Samhain. Now, in different parts of the world, there is evidence of this. In Galicia, in Spain, they have Samhain. In Ireland, they have Samhain. In Scotland, it's called Samhain, but it's the same thing. But Halloween kind of sits on top of it. But in these post-colonial days, where many of our countries want independence, Samhain or Samhain is beginning to come back as a major festival. Not so much in the UK, because we are very British, of course, but in Ireland, it looks like Samhain is the big festival, which I'm told in Irish is also called Samhain. I know it's called Samhain in Scottish Gaelic. It's written here that in Irish Gaelic it's also Samhain. It's spelled Samain, and in Spain it's celebrated as Samain, and specifically in Galicia, which is the Celtic part of Spain. And I'm sure in Brittany and France they're probably doing something similar, perhaps in Scandinavia as well. So let's read through part of this and see what it says. So this woman, she says, growing up in Belfast, I loved Halloween more than any other celebration on the calendar. The scary movies, the socially acceptable asking for sweets from the neighbours, the gothic fashion, the smell of smoke. But it's shamefully recently that I learned about the ancient Celtic roots of Halloween. Okay, well, first of all, I don't really agree that Halloween has its roots in Samhain. I think maybe they were on the same day. Maybe they're kind of related somehow, but I think probably it's two separate festivals that somehow were joined into one. Let's read on. It says here, my favorite Halloweens were celebrated in Ireland, where every single person on the street would dress up. And if you weren't dressed up, people would say bad things to you. And she goes on to say that Samhain is the Irish word for November. Well, that's kind of true, but she's overlooking Scottish Gaelic as well, which is a cousin of Irish Gaelic. I don't think it's November exactly, but it's certainly a month name. It says here, today there is a huge resurgence in interest in Irish language and a more widespread appreciation for the culture we lost in Ireland through colonization, Christianity, and capitalism. Yeah, I think that would be the same as in Scotland. Yeah, but Scotland is very, very British still, so they don't really celebrate it as a kind of cultural thing, although it's changing, it is coming to look that way. It says here in Ireland, we don't celebrate Halloween on the 31st of October anymore. Now we call it Samhain or Samhain, if you want to be more English about it. It says here there's been a renewed interest in the last 20 years because of the shift away from organised religion in Ireland because of many scandals. It says here, more recently, we've experienced a global movement towards decolonised thinking, seeing previously erased indigenous culture being revived. And then she says that young Irishmen now are beginning to restore their indigenous wisdom. Yeah, I'm not sure that's actually true. I think probably amongst some people it is, but I don't think it's the case of Halloween has disappeared completely. It says here, Samhain is one of the 4 seasonal Celtic Quarter Day festivals, marking the end of the harvest season and the start of the darker half of the year. And then it says, at Samhain, the division between the world and the other world is at its thinnest, allowing spirits and dead ancestors to pass. Well, that's what Halloween is all about, isn't it? The night before All Saints' Day, when spirits supposedly pass from purgatory to heaven, no? Is that not what the religious view is? And it says here, it's thought that costumes and disguises as harmful spirits emerged to ward off evil. To ward off means to keep away. And then it's saying that these days they light fires to remember. Yeah, they do that in Scotland as well. In Edinburgh, there's usually a big Samhain festival that's been going for the last 10 years. But I wouldn't have thought anyone's ready to give up Halloween just yet. Yeah, it says here that Ireland has a healthy relationship with death. If you think of the Irish party after someone dies, which is called the wake, and these things. And then it goes on to talk about history and other stories as well. It's saying that Samhain in Ireland is being celebrated in small, intimate rituals. But there's also some street parties as well. Yeah, this story is very long, okay, so I'm not going to read all of it, but it is going on to say that it seems that the date was changed at some point, and that's the part that maybe I disagree with this woman. She says that Christianity arrived in Ireland in the 5th century, And then she says that brought with it All Saints' Day on the 1st of November. And then she says that was followed by All Souls' Day on the 2nd of November, moving the date from May to absorb a festival that was already there. Okay, so she's saying that the date for Samhain didn't move, but that they brought the date for All Hallows to November in order to sit on the same day as Samhain. That's possible, I suppose. Yeah. And then she says Irish immigration to America during the famine of the 1840s brought those customs to America, and then they started to make a big thing of Halloween. I don't know if I agree with all of that. I mean, first of all, it does kind of like say that Americans knew nothing of Halloween until the Irish got there. Yeah, well, hello. There were other countries there as well, not just the Irish. And the Americans may well have been influenced by the Mexicans at that point with their own Day of the Dead festival. So who knows? And she's saying that once she learned about the Celtic roots of Halloween, it became much more important to her. Well, who cares? It's just a night to put on some costumes and have some fun. I don't see that we need to know its origins so much, but I'm not sure. If Samhain was there before Halloween, we wouldn't know what they did on that night, because Celtic people, of course, couldn't read or write. Gaelic speakers didn't leave any records. The only records we have, I think, is after the church arrived, because they, of course, were educated. So who knows? We don't know. But I think Halloween is some kind of mixture. The fact that it is before a major Christian religious festival would suggest that's a big part of it. What was there before? Well, they probably didn't see the living and the dead in the way we do. They probably viewed it very differently. So it was probably more about seasons changing rather than about dead people. I don't know. Apparently, she says that a place in Ireland claims to host Europe's largest Halloween party for 3 days. Yeah, again, I don't know. Halloween. In is the old Scottish word for eyes. I was always taught that Halloween meant holy eyes, whereas I think many people would now say actually Halloween means All Hallows Eve, the night before All Hallows Day, All Hallows Festival. So who knows? It's one of these things, I think, which is lost in time. But I think the reason why it's popular is because everybody loves to think about magic and to think about transformation and magical powers and witches and these things, you know. So nobody really knows. But what I can tell you is that here in the UK, certainly in the 17th century, people were doing the same things as they are today, going to each other's houses, singing songs, looking for sweets. That has always been a tradition throughout the centuries. But I think that was, if we say that All Hallows Day has been there since the 5th century, then that would explain it. But what was there before? Well, who knows if they were going door to door looking for sweets. And they're saying here that it was a celebration of the Night of Fire. But who knows? She's saying here that it was known that there were fire festivals on this night. She says here a huge bonfire was built in the Boyne Valley that other fires could be relit from, which reminds us, of course, of the Olympics and the Olympics torch. She said the light was returned after the darkness of winter. No, I'm not sure she would have any evidence for that. She's not offering any evidence, but anyway, I like to think it's somehow related to thinking about your ancestors and your dead relatives, but that probably comes from Mexico and again from the church rather than from any ancient festival. But there we are. That gives us a little insight into what's coming. She's saying here that the people of Ireland are letting go of Halloween and they're embracing Samhain, or Samhain, as it's known in some parts of the world. Who knows? The same here in the UK, but because we are more British, I don't think we've reached any major point of letting go of Halloween. People here are a bit more shy with belief and religion of any kind. They don't really want to be associated with it. So to have any kind of declaration that Samhain was an ancient Celtic festival, many people would be, well, kind of shy to declare that, I think. But anyway, that's a big news story today, and every year it's like that. And it does look like Halloween is getting darker with all these macabre costumes, and as I mentioned in my weekly lesson, pumpkins, beheaded or executed people with blood. If they do move more towards Samhain as a festival, it should be more about fire and somehow more primitive, about darkness and light. But yeah, I don't know if people are even educated enough to think in that way. People just want a nice night to forget. And the reason why, of course, Halloween is more popular than Christmas now is simply because it's a great night of celebration and you don't have to have a family dinner at the end of it. I think a lot of British people, we really don't like Christmas because we have to mix with family that we don't usually mix with. Halloween gives us everything. The costume, the celebration, the drunkenness, but without family. Anyway, that's today's story, and you can read this in The Independent. The headline says, "Look to Ireland to embrace the true spirit of Halloween." Yeah, but I'm not really sure that we can look to Ireland to embrace the authenticity of Halloween. It's not really clear where it came from, and I think probably two festivals together, maybe even three, if we include the Day of the Dead in Mexico. Probably the church has a lot more to do with this than people want to admit, I think. Everyone's trying to escape their religious past, so to declare that it was an ancient Celtic festival seemed a nice way to do that. But who knows? Who knows indeed? Right, that's it. See you all again soon. Bye.